G'day there guys, it's Connie here again from Marquee Industries and we are back with some more stories from Reddit. As always, if you enjoy these videos, be sure to hit like and subscribe and also the notification bell so you never miss an episode. Alrighty, let's get right into it. Alrighty guys, we're on Am I the A-hole? This one was written by user Ataraxic Metanoia and it's titled, Would I be the a-hole if I broke off my engagement because of his new views about women? Burner account post. My 28 female, fiance 34 male, and I used to have a great relationship, but for the last year, his political views have become a problem. I mostly bit my tongue about it, but it came to a head when he accused a woman at his job of lying about her SA. I pointed out that when a woman accuses a man of assault, he questions it and says she is lying. He justified that by saying it's stupid to believe an accusation like that with no proof. I pointed out that he has no proof that she's lying either, but he's accusing her anyway. He often sends me articles of women, usually teachers, abusing boys. I brought up that he never says the boys are lying or asks for proof. He got very upset and kept repeating that I was trivializing male sexual abuse. I don't feel like I was. I feel that I was just pointing out the hypocrisy. He denied being biased against female accusers. I reminded him that when the allegations against Diddy first happened, he said, feminists were just trying to ruin a successful man's life. Unsurprisingly, he never brought up the man who accused Diddy of sexual assault. He defended Diddy up until the video of him sexually assaulting Cassie was leaked. Even then, he said, we didn't know the whole story. The final straw was when he was telling me, yet again, how women are actually worse than men because we're sneaky and conniving, and, quote, at least men will F you over to your face. He kept saying that women are far worse people than men, and I just lost it. I said that there was nowhere on earth, not now or ever in recorded history, has the female violent crime rate been higher than the males. I told him that men kill each other even more than they kill us, so they're a bigger danger to themselves than some girl being sneaky. I said that blaming women for unfair legislation like conscription makes no sense when men make up the majority of the US government, and most, if not all, other governments. He was absolutely furious about all of this. He didn't argue with me per se, he just told me that I was brainwashed by the feminist agenda and that feminism lied to me and convinced me I was special. I still don't know where that comment came from, it was not relevant to anything. I admittedly was very ticked off and said, well, maybe patriarchy lied to you about this relationship being special. I threw my ring at the table, left the house, and haven't spoken to him since. Today he sent me a long text stating how I belittled him with that comment, and that, quote, I would be a good wife if I could just stop needing to be right all the time. I haven't responded, and I'm conflicted about if I will at all. I feel bad about throwing his ring. I feel really bad that I hurt his feelings by saying our relationship isn't special, but still, to be honest, I'm seriously questioning if I really want to marry him. He's always been argumentative, not just with me, with everyone. Normally I just ignore it, but he was so egregious with his hypocritical BS, I shouldn't have taken the bait, and I don't feel like men are generally bad. I was speaking out of anger. I don't consider myself to be a super political person. I'm not even sure if I count as a feminist. He just has a new complaint about women every frickin' day at this point. It's so frustrating. I don't know when he became this way, but it sucks. There are still things I love about him, but the things he's been saying may be more than I can forgive. Despite all of that, I'm still responsible for my intense outburst because I ignored his constant women bashing in an effort to keep the peace. I exploded when I could have just spoken up from the start. Maybe if I'd nipped it in the bud right at the start, it could have been better. I don't know. I don't know what to do. Am I the a-hole? No way, this guy sounds like he needs a reality check, that being OP leaving him. Let's go to some comments. Do not marry this man, do not have children with him. Sons will be put on a pedestal and daughters accused of lying and being sneaky. You would be an a-hole to yourself and all womankind if you didn't break it off. He is telling you who he is. The collective sigh of relief from everyone OP knows when that ring hit the table, not the a-hole. Run and don't look back. Opie clarifies several points. Quote, if you are mistaken about this simple foundational point, then it's likely that if I keep reading, I'm going to find out that you're wrong about a bunch of stuff. Well, the main point, which was already pretty clear in the post, is that he accuses the women of lying, but not the men. If he sincerely believes that proof is necessary before believing an accusation, why is he only applying that belief to women? Why do men who claim they were sexually assaulted not also bear the burden of proof in his eyes? Why are men believed automatically, but women have to prove it? This isn't about legal procedure, this is about his personal beliefs and hypocrisies. Obviously. Quote, "We must maintain the burden of proof on the accuser." The irony is that you aren't applying this to my ex. He is accusing this woman of making a false assault accusation. That's a very serious offence. He has absolutely no proof to support his accusation. If he cared about proof at all, then he would 1. Remain neutral until proof was presented, 2. Apply the burden of proof to himself when making accusations against another person, and 3. Require proof regardless of the accuser's gender. He has done neither of these things because his distrust of women isn't about proof, it's about misogyny. Quote, "But if you're not willing to do that, then he absolutely should leave you." I left him, he didn't leave me. He's been texting me asking me to come home. You'd know that if you read the post instead of offering your uninformed, half-baked, try-hard, sophomoric, anti-intellectual drivel. Opie comments on breaking up with her fiancé because she doesn't want to live her life arguing over beliefs. This is exactly it. I've seen some comments saying I need to try to work it out with him, and I did try, but eventually you realise you're fighting a losing battle, and the spoils of war aren't worth it anymore. Some guys in the comments are even saying, "Lol, now you're single," like I should be devastated that I don't get to explain empathy to a grown man all day, every day anymore. Yeah, to be honest, I don't think OP needed to justify herself to some dumb comments on Reddit. I guess that's what you sign up for most of the time when you post on these subs, right? Alright, on to an update. Hi again. I'm surprised and overwhelmed by the response my post got. Thanks to everyone who read through all of that, and thanks to anyone who reads through all this too. After I left, I went to a hotel. He kept contacting me to ask when I was coming home. I told him I needed time to think and turned off my phone. When I turned it back on, I saw his photo on my lock screen and decided to call him, for reasons that will make sense later. He said he wanted to talk face to face, and I agreed, so I went home. He apologized for implying that I'm not special. I apologized for implying our relationship isn't special. We've been together for 12 years, so saying that was hurtful and untrue. Before anyone compares the harshness of our statements, his wrongs don't justify my own, and vice versa. Disclaimer, this post isn't about the validity or ethics of gender roles. This is strictly an account of what happened, with no wider social commentary from me. We discussed what we wanted for the future. He wants a traditional marriage, and specified the following. 1. I would quit my job and would start trying for a baby right after the wedding. 2. I'd be a stay-at-home mother until the kids are old enough for primary school and would raise them as Christians. And 3. He wants to protect and provide for our family, and I would be submissive. He assured me that I could still disagree with him and have a say, but he wants to ultimately have the final say in most things. He asked if I understood what he wanted, and I said yes. When he asked me if I still wanted to get married, I told him that I didn't. He has the right to change his mind, but it's not the arrangement we agreed to when he proposed. This post is long enough, so I won't detail how he got into this gender essentialism stuff, or why I don't want the type of relationship he's asking for. Suffice to say, we are no longer compatible. He wants to do a trial run of his preferred setup, so I can see that it's for the best. I told him that we had a very successful trial run of not doing that for 10 years, until he decided to switch things up a few years ago. He was unfazed by this. So about the lock screen. He has a small snaggletooth towards the back that he's always been shy about, so he never fully smiles in public. That photo is one of very few pictures where he's showing his real smile, and it's beautiful. Seeing that photo used to make me so happy. When I saw it this morning, I just felt sad. I know it sounds dramatic, but it feels like he died and was replaced by some kind of red-pilled pod person. When he asked me if I still loved him at all, I told him that I will always love him, but I'm not in love with him anymore. I get that many people had strong feelings about the things he said, and he definitely crossed the line several times, but this is still so hard for me to do. He's the only man I've ever been with, and my best friend. I'm relieved that it's over, but still sad about how it ended. I accept that he's a different person now, but it's hard not to think of what could have been. One comment says, "You put it perfectly right here. Quote, he asked if I understood what he wanted, and I said yes. When he asked me if I still wanted to get married, I told him that I didn't. He has the right to change his mind, but it's not the arrangement we agreed to when he proposed. You made an informed decision. I'm very proud of you. It's hard to make that change, and you were so honest about how this isn't going to work for you. And yes, he changed things. You had 10 good years and 2 bad ones. Those bad ones outweigh the good. You're going to thrive. And finally, Opie makes a separate small post on another subreddit. To make a long story short, I already posted the long version. I was with a guy who became an extreme men's rights activist. I posted about him and mentioned that I don't think I'm a feminist. I got a bunch of comments from people saying I am actually a feminist, but I don't know if they're correct. I also kept getting accused by men of being brainwashed by feminists. I told them that I wasn't raised around feminism and I don't know any feminists at all. After my ex got into MRA stuff, I spent a lot of time learning, researching, and talking with them. I know way more about men's rights than women's rights. I don't disagree with everything the MRA said, but some stuff was kinda, stupid. If I ever disagreed with them, they just said I was brainwashed by feminism. I'm thinking maybe I've been accidentally feminist this whole time. I want to learn more about feminism to know if I really do agree with it, but it's so difficult to know where to start. It feels like everyone in my age group is further ahead on this than what I can catch up to. What are some good ways, books, videos, essays, etc., to get started and learn more about women's rights? Now let's read some final comments. So he wanted to have a trial run before they were married, have her quit her job and have him have complete control over her financially and have a hard time leaving him. I'm so happy she did not go for that. My brother tried that with his last girlfriend. He hasn't actually proposed at that point, but he was saving up for a ring and she was regularly sending him rings she liked. She was basically his fiancée-to-be. When they met, he was conservative and she was as well, but not alt-right conservative. But then he got into a new church that basically made him nosedive from regular conservative to religious freak conservative. He would often bring her with him to Sunday school, where they would spend most of their time being berated by their fellow church members for having sex before marriage and how they needed to repent. Instead of spending time together, my brother wanted to go to Bible study groups, and when his ex said no, he whines that she only wanted him for sex. Eventually, my brother asked her to drop her job, which she loved, and abandon her schooling, which she also loved, to be his stay-at-home girlfriend. His thought process was, if we're going to get married soon anyway, it makes sense to just go ahead and start now. She already worked at a daycare, why not just start raising her own kids? My mum is a very outspoken feminist and she adored my brother's ex. She sat them both down and explained why exactly stay-at-home girlfriends are not good. She outlined the financial and social strains it would put on them both. My brother wouldn't be able to pursue his dream job because he would need health insurance for any kids they may have. His ex would be completely financially and medically alone, as she wouldn't have any health insurance from her own family or her own job. Their bills would double, while their financial stream would be cut in half. She never accused my brother of abuse. She simply pointed out that if they went forward with this, and my brother was in an accident or they had an emergency financial problem, they would be worse than effed. My brother came away from that conversation thinking that my mum was just brainwashed from feminism and didn't understand how real relationships should be. My ex-almost sister-in-law came away from that conversation and dumped him. They've been together for 12 years. He was 22 and she was 16. Obligatory age math. My 28, fiancé 34, we've been together for 12 years, so a 22-year-old male pursued a 16-year-old female. Not a shocker he had these beliefs. Wow, I didn't even clock that when I first read it, but yeah, makes sense. Alrighty folks, we're going to leave that one there. As always, I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. Either way, let's move on to the next story. Okie dokie, same subreddit. This one was written by user Foreign Friend, and it's titled, Am I the a-hole for telling my wife she's free to find a hotel room if she doesn't want my daughter here? My daughter Anna is 16 years old. She was in an accident when I was 24. Anna's mother and I were never together as a couple because it was a one-night stand, but we have maintained a friendly and healthy co-parenting since she was born, and we became good friends. My daughter has been living on another continent for a few years with her mother and stepfather, but she wants to come back because she doesn't feel comfortable there and misses her family and friends. Anna doesn't know their language as well, and it's hard for her to learn it fully, so she really feels lonely there, since it's different to speak your native language than to make friends by speaking a foreign language from zero. I spoke with my daughter's mother, and we thought it was a good idea to let Anna live with me. Her room is now my home office, but I can easily put together a room for her again. We didn't confirm anything. I talked to my wife about it at first, and I was sure that she was going to be okay with that, because we literally talked about that possibility before. The problem is that my wife doesn't want that to happen. My wife and Anna have never been close, because they only meet in person for our wedding when I was able to pay for a ticket for my daughter to come. That was the last time I saw my daughter in person too. Plane tickets are too expensive, but they do tend to talk a little bit when I make video calls with Anna every day, but not too much. Anna also talks to her brother, and he likes her a lot, even if they just see each other on a video call. My wife says Anna is not going to feel comfortable in a house with strangers, and I told her that we're literally her family, and she said no. She and our toddler are not Anna's family because they barely know her in person. It honestly hurts me that she thinks that way, but I understand her point of view. Although our toddler is Anna's brother, and it really annoyed me that she said that because our little one really loves his sister, even if they just see each other online. I had an argument with my wife about it, and I ended up telling her that my daughter will always come first of all, because it's true. For me, my children will always come before any other person, and she knew very well about my daughter when we married. My wife got angry and said that bringing Anna home would change how we handle ourselves and that she doesn't want to be a stepmother. She said that Anna lived with her mother in another continent, so it's not the same as having her right here every day. I told her that no one is asking her to be a stepmother because I will be the one who will take care of her, as always. My daughter used to stay many days and even months with me, and I was the one who took care of her. I'm not going to give my wife all the work because I was a single father for a long time and I know how to take care of my daughter. I work, I clean, I cook, I take full care of our son when she works and wants to go out and do something, just like she does with me. We both support each other in raising our son. I don't know why many people are so shocked about the fact that I take responsibility of my own child, but that if she doesn't respect my daughter's presence in the house and hates it that much, then she has all the freedom to go to a hotel room. I was a big idiot because those words obviously ended up really bad, and we had a worse argument. My daughter has every right to live in my house if she wants, but my wife doesn't want that. I really love my wife, but my biggest focus is to give the best to my children, and I would love to have my princess here after years. My wife hasn't been talking to me at all, and she's very angry, but she does continue with the same stance that she doesn't want Anna here at all, and I know I'll get angry and we'll end up arguing again because I'm not going to leave my daughter alone either. Edit, my wife always knew that Anna lived with me several days a week when she was still in the country because I talked with her about that and the possibility of Anna's family returning to the country if things went wrong. That would have meant that Anna would come back to live with me for many days or even months like she always did. My daughter used to come to my house every day too. My wife agreed with that years ago when we talked about that, but now admits that she thought my daughter was going to stay out of the country with her mother because their business is going really well. Throwaway because my daughter uses Reddit too. I changed some data to not make it too obvious. And edit too. Guys, I've been reading the comments non-stop for 2 hours and I have too much to think about. Thank you very much for the advice. Whether bad or good, this is helping me to reflect on several things that I did not take into account. But please don't be so harsh because I'm a real person. Haha. Let's check out the discussion in the comments. The discussion with his wife. We had it because she knows that my daughter used to stay in my home before she left the country. My wife says that in her mind, my daughter was always going to live with her mother. She didn't say that when we got married, she said it now. When I told her about that possibility years ago, she just said she was okay with it. Now she admits that she thought Anna would stay there. One comment asks, if she doesn't change her mind, do you see your marriage lasting? Opie says, to be honest, no, not at all. Even if I love my wife, my daughter no longer feels welcome in her school or comfortable. I don't want her to feel that way here too. What are you going to do about the child that you guys share? My son would never be homeless. Being okay with my wife would be the ideal plan, but if she continues to reject my daughter's presence and we break up, I'm going to make sure I pay her and our son a good place to stay and go for 50-50 custody like I had with Anna, or make some kind of cohabitation agreement. I'm going to do the same thing with my son that I did with my daughter, which was go see her every day and take care of her. I wouldn't fight with my wife or stress our son out with grown-up stuff. Another comment says, not picking sides here, but if your wife leaves, so does your son. Everyone is screaming, put your child first. You may have your daughter full-time and your son 50-50. Doubt they would take a toddler away from a woman you say is a wonderful mother. I think the rock in the hard place is a lot harder than you think. Opie says, yes, I've been thinking about that too. Co-parenting with Anna's mother has always been really easy because we've always been good friends and there was never a fight. But I don't want to think that if I divorce my wife or we break up because of this, I'll have a harder time seeing my son, or how the co-parenting would be with her. Another comment says, unless there's something you aren't disclosing about Anna, your wife is of questionable character for not allowing your daughter to live with the family. She is part of the family, whether your wife wants her to be or not. Opie replies, I can swear there's nothing I hide about my daughter. She's a good girl and never has problems with anyone. Even at the wedding, Anna and my wife got along well. She was a child raised well by me, as well as her mother and stepfather. One downvoted commenter says, you've already chosen your daughter as more important than your wife and son. Your marriage is over. Opie replies, you've commented this stupidity twice, and not only you're reflecting your own traumas, but you're also taking things for granted that you have no idea about. You literally jumped to the conclusion that I don't love my son just because I spoke well of my daughter. Okay guys, Opie makes an update 12 days later. I'm sorry, but I decided to delete the post because a weirdo started to spam my private messages with different accounts, and I don't know if I can put the account on private or something like that. I don't use this site too much, but a bot started sending me messages asking if I needed help, so I think my account could get banned because of that person doing this, and I'm too old for this, so I'd rather just post an update here where I can at least close the comments. Guess the post will be here if someone cares. First of all, I want to clarify that I am from a third world country. Here, it's really expensive to get a plane ticket, and if I travel, I must do it with my wife and our son too, so it's too much money that we cannot pay. I let my daughter's mother take her to another country because, like every father, I want her to have better life opportunities. I don't think that makes me a bad father, but I guess the minds that have always lived in privilege don't understand. The last time I could afford some tickets was for my daughter to come to the wedding. Not all of us have the privilege of paying for a plane flight. I've been thinking a lot, and in fact I am the a-hole because of the way I treated my wife. Even if most of the comments agreed with me, I don't think it was right to say that to the woman I love, even though I was angry. I apologized to her for what I said, and the way I said it, but I told her that I don't like it when she ignores me and gives me the cold shoulder when I try to talk about our issues, and the fact that she denied the familiarity between our son and daughter was just cruel. She apologized for it and said she was angry and said things she regrets. I made it clear to her that Anna is coming because no one can forbid any of my children to live with me. Not only morally, but legally I am totally obligated to give my daughter and son a house. She tried to argue, but I asked her how she would feel if we divorced, and my new girlfriend refuses to let our son live with me just because she didn't sign up for it. I asked her if she would appreciate a man who abandons his children for a woman more than a man who cares about his children. If she would feel confident knowing that she's married to a man who abandons his children that easily. My wife said no, that obviously she knows how much I care about our children and hates the kind of man who abandons their kids, that she knew she wanted to have a child with me because she saw how even though my daughter was so far away, I made video calls to her every day, and we always help each other with things around the house. Then I asked her why she rejects the idea of my daughter being here, and she admitted being jealous of Anna. It's something that I've noticed in the past. For example, for one of my daughter's birthdays, I sent money to her mother to buy her a dress that was quite expensive, and my wife just said, I guess you'll buy our son something just as expensive. It was my mistake to let those comments pass and think they were just a weird joke. She said that she doesn't want my daughter to come and take time away from our son. That bothered me, and I told her that if we had 2 children, my time would also be divided, and that as a father, I can give the same attention to both. Changing our routine doesn't have to be a negative thing, and she knows that Anna is not a problem teenager. We talked a lot, and I explained to her that I just want to make everything work for both of us. I apologized if I made her feel bad with the way I treated her, and I told her that I want to really hear what things are bothering her so we can understand each other better. We agreed to have better dialogue and communication about these kind of things. My wife admitted that her jealousy is wrong and feels embarrassed about it, but it's how she feels, and she feels awful for feeling like that. I told her that feeling isn't right, Being jealous of my daughter isn't right, and I told her that it would be okay to start going to the psychologist if we want to fix this, because I'm not going to leave my daughter living in a place where she doesn't feel loved. My wife accepted after talking about it a lot these days, and she wants to work on herself about that, because she doesn't like feeling like that about a little girl, and knows it's wrong. My wife and daughter always had a nice treatment. When I make video calls with Anna, my wife usually talks a little, but not that much. I think my mistake was not offering my wife to make video calls alone with Anna, like Anna does with my toddler sometimes. My daughter really likes my wife and calls her auntie, even if they don't know each other too well, so I don't want her to know how my wife really feels about her. I offered my wife to teach her how to play the same video game I play with my daughter so they can play together and get to know each other more. I know Anna would love that. They both have a lot of the same interests. She accepted and said she loves me and wants to try it for me and for our toddler. If I leave my wife, I would be breaking my son's house. He's my baby too, and the last thing I want is letting adult matters affect him. I don't want to do that, and I love this woman. I want to work this out, and I'm going to do my part for it. But the first moment she treats my daughter badly, I will end things with her, and I clarified that to her, and she was right with that, and promised me to work on this. I still haven't confirmed anything to Anna's mother about the date on which our daughter can come, since I need to fix the room for her first, and I want my wife and little girl to get to know each other better. Talking about it with my psychologist, he told me that the best thing is always to get them closer little by little before Anna comes to live here. This last 4 days, my wife and Anna have been talking longer, and I told Anna that we could teach my wife how to play with us. Anna feels really comfortable talking with my wife, and they started talking about random things which I feel out of because I don't understand about the things they talk about, but I'm pretty glad to see that they actually have things to talk about. I suppose a lot of people are going to call me an idiot for not divorcing my wife, because that was what most of the comments told me. But it's not all that simple as, yeah, we argued, so let's get divorced and have 50-50 custody. And I personally think it's been better for us to have spoken up like mature people instead of just getting divorced. Seeing that my wife has opened up to me and is trying to work things out, I prefer to give this a second chance and hope that she can see my daughter as her friend and even as her family if she allows it to herself. Quote, your wife is going to treat your daughter badly. No one can read the future to say that, but I can work to make sure that future doesn't happen. In the meantime, I prefer to maintain a positive approach, since my wife has never behaved badly with my daughter, and my daughter knows that if she feels uncomfortable, she knows she can talk about it with her mum, stepdad, or me, as we always teach her to talk to us about anything that makes her uncomfortable. Anna has a sharp tongue, so I doubt she'll stay quiet if my wife makes any comments that make her uncomfortable. I'm not going to force them to be best friends. I want them both to flow on their own. I'm also not going to use my daughter as a free babysitter, as many in the comments suggested as a supposed solution, and both she and her brother can live in this house as long as they want. Edit. In the previous post, several people said that my wife also made a post here, but it's false. She doesn't use this site. I don't understand why, but I've been getting a lot of notifications from that bot from a Redditor who thinks I need help, and private spam messages from different accounts created literally today. I really don't know who's doing this, and I don't understand what's the fun in annoying like that. Just block me. One comment says, if your wife doesn't get over her jealousy though, you're going to have to make a choice. Hopefully, since she took ownership of how awful what she said and did was, she'll become better. Opie replies, yes, I've made it clear to my wife that my decision will always be to protect my children from any person or situation, so if her jealousy returns, there'll be no third chance. Someone asks, do you plan on leaving your daughter alone with your wife? Opie says, for now they have video calls with me. If my daughter wants to have video calls only with my wife, then they'll have video calls alone. My daughter is smart and has a sharp tongue. If she feels uncomfortable with anything my wife does, she will tell me or her mother or stepfather about it. The commenter says, I meant when she comes to stay with you, would you feel comfortable with leaving your wife alone with your daughter? If my wife continues to improve her behaviour and continues to be open to having a close relationship with my daughter, yes, the ideal is that, as I said in the post, that is precisely the reason why they're making video calls together, so that not only me, but also that they feel comfortable with each other when they live together. Just because she's okay doing video calls with your daughter and being nice to her doesn't mean she's going to be the same when your daughter is in her home, especially when she doesn't want her there. Opie says, and it doesn't mean she'll treat her badly either. Neither you nor I know the future, and we could assume all night about what will happen. I prefer to think about the best for all the members of my family and trust that my wife wants to improve for herself and others with professional help. Someone says, the wife needs to know she can talk to you if she's uncomfortable. This probably won't end well. Opie says, my wife knows she can talk to me about whatever she wants. As I said in the post, she has opened up to me about what she really thinks, and we've been having a sincere dialogue. Yeah, I like the way Opie's going about this, and I love that he has faith in their relationship blossoming when, the daughter ultimately moves in. I have faith too. Okay, on to another update, 1.5 months later. I didn't really think about updating again, but I remembered that I have the account and I thought, why not, since I have free time in this moment while I take care of my toddler. My daughter and my wife's relationship is going very well. They both make video calls to watch some series together that they both like. They've even started to have inside jokes that I don't understand, but I think that's something good, although to be honest now I feel a little left out. Just joking. My wife has been going to the psychologist, and me too. I want both of us to get better together, to work on her insecurities and problems because she knows that feeling jealous of my daughter is not good at all, and a few weeks ago she talked to my daughter about her feelings towards her and apologized. My daughter was quite surprised to learn that my wife felt this way, but accepted the apology and told her that she understands her. I left them talking alone that day so they have privacy, and after that they've had a closer bond. My wife said that my daughter told her that she'll always respect someone who is sincere and wants to be a better person. In the previous post, many said that I decided to bring my daughter without talking about it with my wife before, but that's literally what I did. I never confirmed anything to the mother of my daughter until I spoke with my wife. I was never the partner of my daughter's mother, by the way. Many comments mentioned her as my ex-wife, but we were never anything. The talk about bringing my daughter back was paused because I wanted them to know each other better before living all together, but my wife started to talk about how she wants to decorate the bedroom and rejected all my ideas because they're too boring for a girl, so she's having fun redecorating the room with our toddler, who's really happy to see his sister in person. We still didn't arrange a date because my daughter's mother has a talk with her high school for the problems there and everything, and I have to prepare everything here too, but all is going well, step by step. One comment says, how can you live somewhere where you can see a psychologist but the airfare is expensive? Opie says, in my country there's something called Obra Social, which gives me, my wife and my kids free private healthcare, and therefore also to be able to go to a psychologist for free. One comment says, flights are only $1,000 to Europe. Opie says, you have the privilege of earning in dollars and not having a total devalued economy. I don't. Here are many people who make less than $250 monthly. My daughter lives on another continent, not Europe. Now for the new update, 2.5 months later. Hello, I just wanted to have one last update before deleting the account since I don't see the point of continuing to have it. My daughter has been living with us for a few weeks now. My wife and she get along well. Her little brother adores her, and they can finally spend time together in person. He's really excited to have her home now. My wife has been working a lot on herself, and I have noticed how much she changed in a good way, and how her relationship with my daughter is good. I noticed it especially when we went to pick up my daughter at the airport, and my wife was very excited to see her. They've been watching movies together online for months. She's no longer jealous of my daughter, and although it is a process that takes time, I know that she's making an effort. My daughter has not started school here, so she'll have to wait until next year anyway. We decided to bring her now since in a few months the tickets will be much more expensive. It was my wife the one who told me that, and that she felt ready to spend time in person with her. I was really happy to hear her say that. I didn't expect her to already feel ready to tell me that. My daughter lived in a country in Asia. Although it was a really beautiful and safe country, it was very difficult for her to adapt, and their bullying is something very serious, much more so towards her, who had so much difficulty with the language. Sometimes she obviously misses her mum, but they text a lot. I try to spend as much time as I can with her, so that she doesn't miss her mother and stepfather too much. I also take her to see our relatives, and she's met my wife's family as well. But in general, I know that she feels happy here, and she's told me that she missed her grandparents, uncles and cousins. The whole family is very happy that she's back here. My wife and I are doing great, and I've also worked on myself by going to therapy. Now we talk a lot whenever something bothers us or we have some discontent. I think the key is that we communicate, even if they are dark thoughts. I know that she's a good person, and like everyone, she has dark thoughts, but she's a good person because she works on improving herself, and I'm doing that too. I love her, and I know she's a good mother who wouldn't treat my daughter badly. I like to take care of our children, take care of them, clean and cook for them, although sometimes I find it hard to understand that my daughter now does all that by herself, and I don't have to do it, ha, but she's still small in my eyes, just like her brother. Anyway, I'm sorry if it's a boring update and everyone expected me to divorce my wife, but things are like this. Luckily, we're starting to solve our problems. They now have a relationship of friends, and I like that, if they're happy like that. Okay folks, and that's the end of that story. Yeah, honestly, a great ending. I'm actually relieved to hear one that doesn't end in divorce and heartbreak. I feel like it's been a while. Anyway, as always, I'd love to hear your thoughts. Let me know in the comments. Either way, we're moving on again. Alright, we're popping over to True Off My Chest. This one was written by user Lazy Youth, and it's titled, I regret not absolutely ruining my life as a teenager. I, 31 female, should start by saying that I am insanely happy and love the life I live now. I'm a mum to a beautiful daughter with a husband who I love more than the moon and the stars, in a home that I own, in a town that I love. I am, by all measures, insanely lucky, and wanting to change anything in my past that would absolutely change it would be insane. But if I could go back and live my life from 14 to 20 years old, I would have done things much differently. I have been responsible and straight edge from the absolute very beginning, with any thoughts of rebellion squashed out of me by two very well-meaning parents. I was a good student, never drank, never smoked anything, never snuck out at night. I didn't even have a curfew because I never gave my parents a reason to tell me to be home by a certain time. I was always at home. Even in college, I stuck rigidly to my track record of no alcohol or substances and graduated summa cum laude. I absolutely had a social life and amazing friends who are still in my life, but I never partied. Even when I'd moved past my parents' puritanical approach, I was too self-conscious of my appearance to really get out there and do something irresponsible. Looking back on myself in those years, that was such an unnecessary waste. So now, I fantasize about going back and doing everything I was too repressed to do, but in the extreme. And I really mean extreme. Every substance, every party, every half-attractive man. Because my frontal lobe is fully developed. I know the scenarios I imagine and fantasize about in my head are wildly unsafe, and in many cases even illegal. And any one of them would prevent me from having the amazing life I have now. But I still can't help but want it. One comment says, I did that, except I'm a male, so it was a little different. I almost ruined my life. Is there any way you could get your thrills some other way? Do something rebellious, but nothing that's going to implode your marriage or your life. When you daydream about the person you wish you were, how far apart is that person from who you actually are? Could you do anything in those fantasies in a healthy way? I know that's not as thrilling as true teenage recklessness, but it may scratch the itch so that you aren't stuck fantasizing about this stuff forever. And for the record, life isn't a movie, as I'm sure you know. A lot of my friends from when I was younger are in prison. One is dead. Anyone else is stumbling through life and ironically fantasizing about what you have. I know where you're coming from though. I think you need to stop looking back and start looking ahead. What are some things you can do to add excitement to your life? I go skydiving every year, rock climbing, solo vacations to odd places. It keeps me feeling independent even though my life is similar to yours now. Find that thing for you, and do it, unapologetically. Crap, this is the start of how people blow up their marriage. I know a girl that did this. She's absolutely miserable and is afraid she'll never have a family. She messed up her perception of relationships and is unable to trust anyone because of her actions. Trust me, you won. You missed nothing. Opie updates the same day. To clarify, I am insanely happy with my life right now and have zero, and I mean truly zero urge to do any of these things now in my 30s. The idea is that I wish I'd rebelled when I was young, and being young is part of that fantasy. I don't want to open up my marriage, have an affair, or start partying, etc. But as such a suppressed teenager, I absolutely wish I had explored more, and over time those thoughts became exaggerated fantasies. I shared this with the Off My Chest subreddit for exactly that reason. I wanted to get it off my chest. but the idea that I would blow up my life because of these thoughts feels insane to me. I have an amazing sex life with my husband. We're adventurous and always trying new things. I smoke a little weed, have a glass of wine now and then. All of that is more than enough to scratch this itch now, but I absolutely look back and think about what it would be like to just be young and stupid and completely free. One final comment says, I don't think you regret not being reckless. I think you've spent so many years of your life setting yourself up for the future, and now that you're finally here, you're struggling to turn off the forward-looking mindset you've become accustomed to. You're realizing you've been unbalanced and wish you'd simply lived in the moment more. My advice? Don't turn that obsession with the potential future into an obsession with the potential past. Find a way to be mindful, present, and appreciative. Therapy helps. Opie says, this is actually so immensely helpful and so true. I hadn't thought of it that way, so thank you so much. Already in therapy and will definitely be bringing this up in next week's session. Yeah, I imagine it's probably a pretty normal experience to have in your early 30s. Not regrets per se, but, wishing you'd done this or said yes to that. What about you guys? Maybe you got some similar stories you'd like to share. Anyway, that's it from me today. I hope you guys enjoyed those stories. Thanks for making it to the end, and I'll see you all in the next video. Have a good day. Cheers.